like I can't be happy being the one successful person in my family while I see everyone else in my family struggle or not, be able to progress. Like I'm not going to be the one mentioned sitting around poverty. Like that's just not how our mindsets work, is that, I'll have a mention while everyone else has a like little like they're all homeless or they're all like struggling. I'm not that person. He's not that person. So for us, we see giving advice as like the biggest contribution we can make, because maybe we don't have all the money in the world to be able to invest in everything that everyone wants to do. We definitely understand there's some people who will take the advice and some people who won't. And we're always in the mindset of you can't take, like we always have a saying like, don't come for my money if you're not willing to take my advice, because there's a lot of people who will come to you with their hands out looking for money or things like that. But not a lot of people want to take advice or want to really learn how to, fish for themselves or really make a impactful progression in their lives. And so for us, it's all around like really just trying to give whatever knowledge we have, because we've both been through like a lot throughout our like lives of just trying to get to the point that we're at. And we both recognize that we probably could have been a lot further if we had a big support network and a lot of people really advising us who were doing other things. And so like just making sure that we pay that forward and just know that, okay, we probably could have got here quicker, but we're going to do everything we can to really try to help whoever's willing to listen, like know what we know so that they can do it, do more. So.
All right. What's up, everybody? Welcome to the You Are Story podcast. This is the first episode I'm doing virtually. Did have some technical difficulties, but we finally got this thing to go. If you're tuned in, if you've been listening to the last few episodes, I appreciate the support, your words of encouragement, your kindness, and helping me with getting this whole thing set up, helping me with coming up with things and all of that. So I appreciate all of that. I do have some special guests here for y'all today. When I first came up with this idea to start this podcast, something that excited me the most about it was the ability and just bringing family on, because I come from a great family. I come from a family that's always there to provide words of wisdom, providing advice and helping out, and always there when, they're pretty much a phone call away and have an open door policy. So I have two special family members here for y'all today, people that are dear to my heart, people that have helped me along the way, and, just always there to give me advice. I have my cousins, Pino and Ebony. How are y'all doing?
Hello.
Doing good.
We're good.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
That's a great introduction there.
Yeah, thank y'all for just gracing this platform with your presence and, just taking time out to have this conversation. And here at the You Are Story podcast, our goal is to have people come on and share their experiences, share their stories, and just help people. By hearing your story, it can help them with theirs. That's why it's called You Are Story. And it just means that by impacting somebody else with your story, that makes you a part of theirs. It's a whole deep thing. I'm not going to get into like the whole.
No, get deep with it.
Yes, there's a whole meaning behind it. But again, thank y'all for being here. One thing I do on every episode, I like to remember when and how I met people. But with family, it's kind of like you can't really talk about when and how you met people because we're family. That's just, we grew up together. But with y'all, there's like, our family is so big that there's kind of levels. And so there's like, the cousins that are up there in age, and then there's like my generation, and then there's the younger generation as well. So ours is kind of like on a different level. And when y'all were my age, I was okay. See, what's up, man?
He's gonna with his macaroni and cheese mouth.
Yeah. When y'all were my age, I was around maybe 10, 11. And so I was still a little pecan when y'all were my age. But now that I'm a little older, we've been able to kind of build our relationship a lot more. But I'm not here to talk about me and y'all as much. I'm here to talk about y'all. This is about y'all. So I'm interested, and I don't think y'all have told me the story, but how did y'all originally meet?
How we met?
Yeah.
So Pino always tries to retell the story and it's never fact. So if he tells you anything different than what I'm about to tell you, it's not true. We met my freshman year of college. They're mutual friends. We both had a group of friends that we hung out with, and we were always hanging out with them. I did Pino came towards the back half. I knew like those friends for a while, and we used to always go hang out in their dorm room. And Pino would be the guy who, everyone would talk about, but no, like we would never see because he would be either running track or hanging out, I guess, doing whatever Pino does. And then the one time when he finally did come, he was, because Pino's just like a quiet by nature person anyway. And the one time that he did grace us with his presence, he was really quiet to himself, kind of, walked in and went off to himself. My girlfriends at that time that we were hanging out with, they had a relationship with him. Me and him did not speak to each other for a reason. For interesting reasons. I wasn't speaking to him because he came in quiet. So I was like, who does this guy think he is? Not knowing that it was because he's kind of shy and kind of to himself anyway. And so I just decided I wasn't going to speak to him. And then he in return decided he wasn't going to speak to me because I wasn't speaking to him. And he was like, who does this girl think she is? And so we played that game for a while of not speaking to each other, but speaking to everyone else who was around. And then one day he needed to get his hair done, and that was kind of my chance, and I volunteered to braid his hair, and there we go.
Yeah. So that's similar to how I tell it.
He knows.
But I usually say I walked into the room and I saw her and I was like, yo, I'm gonna go talk to her, but it didn't happen that way. I did not have any game, so I didn't have any game to say. But we did meet her freshman year. It was second semester. We met at Winston-Salem State University in 2007, and everything she said was accurate. The only thing I would add to that is it wasn't that I was trying to play games or trying to say that she was, just being stuck up. She's, I knew everyone, and it just took me a little bit. It takes me some time to get comfortable with new people. So she was the only person in the room that I didn't know. So I was quiet around her because I was still trying to like observe and assess who she was. But she took it as, man, this guy is being stuck up. I just didn't know her enough to be comfortable to be like loud and talkative, so that's the reason why.
Okay. Yeah, I think I heard bits and pieces of that before, but I never heard like the whole story. So Ebony, I actually had a couple on here a few weeks ago or a few episodes ago, and they knew each other. I think they met each other earlier than college. And they met through a mutual friend as well, or a mutual family member. And I asked Thomas, that was his name, Thomas. I asked him, he was friends with the mutual friend. So I asked him if he kind of made up reasons to hang out with him so that he could hang out with his wife. So did you like make up reasons to hang out with, y'all said y'all met through mutual friends, right?
Yeah.
So I guess this can be for both of y'all then. Did y'all kind of like, you said y'all didn't really know each other, Pino. You said Ebony was the only person you didn't know. Did y'all like make up reasons to hang out with the mutual friends, but there was like another deeper meaning behind that?
I don't think on my side, we just always, the friends that we were around, we were probably around them at least every week. And so that was a pretty, like, I don't think I was trying to find ways to get around Pino. It's just whenever he was around, just like observing and trying to like really like figure out what was his deal overall. I think that the excuse that I had was being able, like, once he needed his hair braided and he went to Brittany and was looking to get his hair braided, I was just like, oh, well, volunteer me, because she didn't have time. And I think she like kind of stood him up a few times when it came to braiding his hair. And I was like, oh, well, I could do it. And I feel like, I had other, we probably weren't sweating each other too heavily because we had other things happening during that time anyway. But then kind of took the opportunity when it presented itself to get around him. He had no clue that I had any interest at all. And even while I was, braiding his hair and trying to start conversation, it took him being told by one of his friends who was observing the whole situation that I even liked him. So he was completely oblivious that I even liked him. And I think that, like, I don't think we were trying to find ways to be around each other. It was more like we knew of each other. I don't know if he even, like, what his interest level was at that time, but I just kind of took the opportunity to get in front of him whenever I had it.
So for me, I wasn't trying to find any reason, because I knew them before I knew her. Because we came in a year before Ebony came in, so we were already friends for our freshman year, and we already hung out. In fact, we picked the dorms that we picked to be, able to hang out with each other. So we were on the same dorm. We picked the same floors because we were close. We were like, these were some of our friends that we were really tight with. So it was not a thing where we were planning it, because also those were pretty popular guys. So they had a lot of people going in and out of their rooms. Yeah. And so, so when we came one day and we just saw Ebony, it wasn't a thing. It's like, oh, let me come and find ways to come around, because I was not consistent. I was either traveling with the track team or I was doing something else. So there was no excuse. He's gonna pop in and out.
What's up? You remember me, Kezi? He's bouncing around. He's got a ton of energy.
He does, and his shows are on, so.
That, I admit I'm guilty of that. I've definitely made up reasons to hang out with people just to, there's a deeper meaning behind that. But yeah, so you said y'all met in freshman year of college, right?
No, her freshman year was my sophomore year.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So Ebony, when did y'all, just for context, when y'all first encountered, how long was the process until y'all were like, oh, okay, let's become a couple?
The funny part is, so I think we ran into each other. It was spring of my freshman year, but then we actually got up for the first time when I was doing his hair. That was like the fall of my freshman year. So it was a long period of time before we even, got around each other. But then after that day, after I braided his hair, and I think after he was he understood that I was interested, then he started finding reasons to invite me around or be like, oh, I need to stop by to do X, Y, and Z and things like that. So we started interacting with each other more. And so that went on for a couple of weeks, and then we started hanging out all the time. And I feel like after we started hanging out, it was probably about a month before we made it official. And we were basically like, okay, now we're dating. And so it probably took about a month of us just getting around each other a lot till we actually decided that we were going to be dating.
Yeah. That was pretty much true, except the time frame was off. So we met in the autumn, in the fall of her freshman year. And then by February, we started dating. In February, which was like a few months before spring. So we actually started dating in the winter because I remember right when we started dating, Valentine had came up and it was a big thing. Like, crap, I just started dating this girl. Do I give her a Valentine? Like, so I just kind of said, you know what? I'm not gonna overthink it. But we started dating like a week before or a week or either before or after Valentine's. And then spring came in, and then by spring we were always hanging together.
Okay. So
I don't. One thing that's interesting, I just remembered. We weren't calling ourselves like a item or anything. It was our friends who kept saying it. So the same mutual friends we had would say like, Pino, get your girl, man, before she was my girl. And it was awkward because when they say it, and then I would look at her like, I don't, like normally you correct them and be like, man, no, that's not my girl. So they would say it, and I would look at her to see what she said. Like, what would she say? And she wasn't correcting it. Like, she didn't say like, no, that's not my guy. She just like was quiet. So then after a while, I was like, why don't you never correct them when they tell you this, when they say this? And she was like, well, I mean, I don't have she said something. And then I was like, well, are you my girl? And she was like, I don't know. Am I?
So we never had a romantic moment of being like, oh yeah, should we be official?
Yeah, I guess it was just natural, I guess, that, and I don't think there's anything wrong with that when it's just like natural like that, because I guess it's better than kind of like faking it or feeling forced. So yeah, as long as it was natural. I mean, hey, look at where you're at now. So
yeah, for us, I feel like every day was very natural, low key, not forced, because there was like no drama at all when like throughout like that beginning like stage. It was just we clicked, we really enjoyed each other, and then we just like went from there. There was probably like for us it was pretty natural. I feel like others might have got surprised at how quickly we ended up just getting real like connected with each other, and it probably threw some people off of being like, dog, what happened to these people who 1 minute were like always hanging out and now they're kind of like together all the time.
Yeah, so I guess in that process, when y'all were in school and everything, was that something that y'all were kind of purposeful in doing? So like, were y'all searching for a partner, or were you just kind of, okay, wherever college takes me, that's what I'll do?
I'll say I don't think either one of us were like really looking at the time. I even remember he always brings up the fact that when we first met, I made a statement saying, oh, I'm not looking for anything serious right now. So I don't think either one of us were like actively looking at that moment.
Yeah, I don't. My plan wasn't even to look for like a girlfriend or anything. She gotta grab
Kezi.
Yeah.
Uh-oh. It's all good.
Yeah. So I'll just continue. I wasn't planning on, looking for anybody, but I would say that I'm also not the person that would know if somebody was looking at me or looking, you know what I mean? Like I wouldn't know because I'm just not, what's the word? I'm not like observant or keen into catching clues. Yeah. And I don't, and I'm very direct. You have to like tell me. And so I was just doing my thing, like just being who I was, just into what I was into. And
Yeah.
I had female friends, and I never even like even how we hooked up. Like my mutual friends said, "Hey, get your girl." You know, everything they will always say, "That's your girl." Or bring some food back for your girl. Don't forget your girl. I wouldn't even think about it. I wouldn't because I wasn't, you know, I wasn't looking. But when it happened, and then I started saying, "Oh shoot, this is a stronger connection than connections that I have with my female friends." So then I would say, after I became aware of it, then I started intentionally looking for like phone calls from her, text messages from her, or just times where I would see her in the yard. I would then start looking for like those schedules. Like, okay, I know she get out of this class. You know,
Uh-huh.
let me just so happen make myself available at this time so that I can have time to communicate or interact.
Yeah.
As he said, he didn't put any game, no, he just flowed into the relationship. Sometimes some things just work out that way.
Yeah. So the reason I asked that is because that kind of leads me to my next question. And I'll ask you first, Ebony, because I I'm more, I guess, I've been a part of this side of the family my whole life, obviously. So I kind of like know everything. But the reason, I guess that leads me to my next question with you. When did you meet the family, the Banks and the Bates? And was that important? Like, was that like a deal breaker for you? Like, was that a really big thing for you? The family culture, family atmosphere?
Are you saying it can be a deal breaker?
I be,
He's like, I'm not going to speak on it. I'll say, actually, being the family was probably I think I fell in love with the family, which made me want to be more in a relationship and to look at how this could be more long term. Because I met his family probably that summer after we met. I went to stay with my mom. He was working in Charlotte with his family, and then I drove up one weekend. And I don't know if I met them before then, but I knew I drove up one weekend and spent time with like his uncles, aunts. And I think being around the family actually was like a plus, and it made me want to like think about long term, because he did come from a big family. I come from a small family where we're a little disjointed. I only deal with like my immediate family for the most part. And to see like how, I guess, big his family was, how kind of organized they were as far as like the activities and how they communicate, and like whether it's like the Sunday family meetings or like all of those, like the family reunions and all those things. I didn't grow up with that. And so seeing like that family structure and like how kind of, you guys love on each other and interact with each other, and just seeing him being with his little like younger cousins, and just like the relationship he had with a lot of his younger cousins, made me just really fall in love with him, just because I could really picture like how it would be to like build a family with this person, and be a part of this family, and just seeing how great he was with like his younger cousins and everything, like how that would be as far as like having kids with this person. And so, yeah, I think the meeting the family was definitely a big plus for me personally. I probably would have left a long time ago. Just joking.
Yeah, I don't know if I said this at the beginning. I said we're family, but I didn't say exactly how. Me and Pino are cousins, and Ebony is now through marriage. Ebony is now my cousin. She's family as well. So just for context, me and Pino and Ebony now, we're all cousins. We're all family now. But I guess another question for you, Ebony, when you saw how our family got down, with the cookouts, with the family reunions, with the gatherings at grandma's house and everything, was that with you? You were saying it's kind of different from your family culture and everything. Was that kind of overwhelming at first?
It wasn't. I feel that I kind of hop right in. Like, that's just my personality. I can be a little introverted, but for the most part, if I meet people and I feel comfortable, I engage pretty easily. And so whenever I first met everyone, I don't think I was overwhelmed. I just hopped right in and started conversations, started, interacting, building relationships. And so for me, it was not overwhelming at all. And Pino made like how he brought me into the family was pretty relaxed as well. It wasn't like a big, like dramatic thing. It was just more like, here, meet, this person, meet this person. I engaged with a lot of the different like cousins who were around my age. Been around you guys for the longest. So for me, it's been pretty natural and comfortable.
Yeah, I was saying I asked that because how the family, especially our aunts, I feel like when it comes to the nephews, whenever someone mentions, oh, I'm talking to someone, or this is my girlfriend, or this is someone I'm, looking to marry, or things like that, it's obviously joking, but in a way it's still kind of like, oh, who's this? Blah, blah, blah. And like, even with me, especially Auntie Meme, she's just always like, oh, any girl you meet, make sure they come through all of us first. But I was just curious how that process was for you. But Pino, oh, sorry.
I was going to say, I feel like it would be different if you were because somebody actually had made a comment saying they wouldn't bring anyone around unless they know that it's serious. And so I feel like with you guys, that's kind of one of the days where you don't bring someone around unless you're ready to like commit, because basically the family is going to marry you guys. Like, it's like that person is officially a part of the family. They're not going anywhere. So
yeah, and most of the family, it doesn't know that I was, and y'all know, I told y'all I was in a relationship this past summer. Y'all already know how that went. But yeah, I did want to, I see what you're saying. I did, I think with the family just being so close and so family oriented, whenever someone does come, it's like you're instantly a part of the family. And so that's part of the reason why I kind of kept it low key for a little bit, because I wanted to be someone who, I feel sure about, because I know how it gets. But just asking you the same question, Pino, how important was family for you when you started that search, or I guess when you got a lot closer to Ebony? How important was family to you in that process?
me and my family.
Oh, your family.
Yeah, Ebony's family. Yeah.
Because we come from a large family, she told me already that her family wasn't as large. And when I was going into meeting her family, just being quiet and being sometimes shy, she gave me the expectations like, this is how my family is. And when I first, I think what I would say what eased me into the family was meeting her brothers first, because I have a joking way of personality, or joking personality. So when I met her brothers, and we joked around, and we were just they accepted me instantly off the back. They just welcomed me. That made it where I'm like, okay, if they're around, then I have someone to feel comfortable around, that I don't have to sit there quietly. But when they weren't around, I was quiet. I was just observant, because her family is, even though they're not large,
Large personality.
they have large personalities. Exactly. So their personalities kind of made it where I didn't know at first how they interact. So I would just be quiet and looking and just observing. And she used to take that as me not wanting to engage with her family. And she used to say, why are you so quiet? You gotta speak up, you gotta do this, you gotta do that, you gotta participate. And I'm just not used to just that much energy, you know, because we have a lot of little cousins, and then we have, you know, mid-age. We have family in all range in our family, but in her family, it's just like it's the elders, and then there are the her siblings, and so just giving them that respect, because you know I still have that, you know, that African tradition where you respect your elders and you don't say certain things, you don't speak up or speak at them a certain way. So when they interact with me, you know, she probably took it one type of way, but I was trying to like give them respect while also trying to learn how to give them respect.
Yeah.
You know, like how they want to be communicated with, and then trying to engage with them because of their personality and feeling overwhelmed. You know,
my family is very loud and speaks very loud. They speak very loud, very aggressive in their tone, very like straight shooting with how they talk. And also I noticed that Pino, some of the things that I might say to like my mom or like my grandma in a joking manner, he's not used to hearing like, I guess people talk to like they're even like with my brothers, how comfortable we are with some of the conversations we have and things we say to each other. I don't think he's used to like those type of levels of conversations with like elders or like siblings. And so we might say some things to each like that he just wasn't used to. Like, so for him trying to learn how to insert himself conversationally, like definitely when you have all these like very like loud speaking, aggressive tone people around, was difficult for him. But I don't know if like that scared him away from the relationship. Did my family almost scare you away?
terrified. No, I was a bit scared in the beginning, but the funny thing is, her family is a lot like our family, where the women, we have a matriarch structure in our family. The women pretty much run the family.
Yeah.
And her family is the exact same way, where the women pretty much run the family. And so the men are just more like chill, quiet, relaxed, and allowing the women just to run the show. So I was kind of used to it from our family structure, but it just getting used to the personality. And once I did, it became like natural.
Yeah, that's what's up. And I think that's cool when you kind of, when you're with somebody and then you meet their family, and that's kind of like a whole other side of them in a way. So like you can learn so much more about them from their family too. And just seeing how you interact differently between the families and how that process grows and everything like that. So yeah, I think that's cool. That's definitely awesome how like y'all are both now at a place where y'all are comfortable with each other's families. I even coming to grandma's, there was one time we were at grandma's and Ebony and Kezi came, and you weren't there, but just that comfortability to just be in the presence of each other's families without the other person there. So that's dope. That's what's up. But one of the reasons why I was excited to bring y'all both on was because we've kind of this past year or the past few months, we've hung out a lot more than in recent memory, mainly because, we were in different states at the time. So that was obviously hard. But now that, we're closer again, we've hung out a lot more over the past few months. And something I noticed about y'all is that y'all love to spend like quality time, not only with each other, but with your son, with family and everything like that. And that's actually the name of this episode. I forgot to say the name of this episode. The name of this episode is Quality Time. And even on, social media, I see that y'all are always spending time. Y'all kind of make it a point to, hang out with each other, hang out with Okezi, your son, and all of that. So I'm curious, how important is like that quality time, not only with each other, but just with family and with, your child, how important is that to y'all? And what does that look like? Is it something that is intentional that y'all talk about, or is it just kind of natural? Like something pops up on Pino's phone and he's like, oh, okay, Okezzy would like this, or oh, there's a food truck event. Ebony, let's go. How is it like purposeful, or is it kind of just like in the moment type?
I would say it's definitely very purposeful. A lot of like, I feel like I'm the planner of the household. So I'm always the person who's finding all these random things for us to go to. And while we were in Chicago, I really enjoyed that they make it so easy to like just find things, because there's always something happening. And like a lot of times you will be able to just walk out of your apartment and walk down the street and there's a festival or something. And so I enjoy getting out and about and trying different things. Pino's a little bit more of a homebody. He enjoys quality time.
Amen.
He's more of a sense of, he enjoys quality time. He wants to like build his environment at home so that we could like stay in the home. And like he loves being around us like as a family. And he always gets joked on because he would prefer to be home with, you know, his kid and his wife rather than like out at a bar or a club. So he's definitely more of a homebody, spending time with us. And I definitely enjoy like, you know, being with, because like I said, we started off like most like with us just being very like natural and comfortable with each other. We have a friendship as kind of our base of our relationship. So we actually enjoy being around each other and spending time with each other, because we are like each other's best friends, or PFS for life. And so we enjoy being around each other. So anytime there's something going on, I think most of the time we're trying to figure out like how to do those things together. And then other times we have to create some balance around, okay, it's not just us in the world. We definitely have to engage and build, you know, and continue to like interact when it comes to, you know, that, you know, all of our family, all of our friends. And so balancing, you know, time with each other, trying to make time for date nights, which is probably more difficult because a lot of times it's like, what can we do as a family unit, including Okezzy. Definitely, you know, when your children are younger, finding childcare can be a little difficult. So I think a lot of times we go about things as what type of activities can we do together as a family, but then trying to also remember that, okay, we need to fit in date nights or time with each other into that. So working to coordinate that more, but then also when it comes to family and friends, trying to actively think about, okay, maybe on Sundays we make that like, oh, let's go visit, you know, our grandparents, or maybe on this weekend, or like planning ahead on when we can get out and visit and coordinate things, or when we're doing an event, like, okay, maybe this is something that, you know, this person might enjoy doing, and then actively reaching out and trying to like bring people, you know, around, because we just want Okezzy to grow up with having like that basis of like community and family. So we're always looking at like, oh, let's invite so-and-so when this is going, or let's bring like cousins or family members around, versus like, you know, trying to always be like, okay, it's just us and our little like family here, and we're going to do things together, but actively trying to see like how we can bring other people in. And, you know, that takes planning, that takes actually like thinking ahead of time about certain things, and just, you know, keeping people in the back of your mind around like, okay, what type of things do certain people like to do, so that whenever things come up, you can like just reach out to them and want to invite them. I think that was I don't know how clear that was.
Well, that was good.
He's like, I don't have anything to add.
Oh, I think Ebony said it well, but I think for me, the balance between work and outside of work, that work-life balance is important. So I spent half my day or half my week with someone else's doing something for someone else that benefits their purpose. And I'm more into like the meaning of life and how we spend our life. And I always have like models and phrases. And so I try to find ways to create memories, and we're always, you know, moving, right? So in a 24-hour period, if we sleep, you know, let's say if you're lucky, you can sleep 6 to 8 hours. right? And then we're working for another 8 hours, you're commuting for an hour between that. So when you look at all of that, right? Yes, that's not a lot of time to actually spend with the people that you have. You know what I mean? Just in general, you've already, if you sleep 8 hours and you work 8 hours, you've already spent 16. And if you commute to work like I do, you've already that's another hour. So now you've spent 17 hours in your day, and you have a 24-hour period, and that gives you what, 7 hours left. Out of those 7 hours, you probably have certain other things to go on, like house chores, and you have to, when you look at it in the grand scheme of things on a daily basis, you probably have about 4 hours of actual quality time. That's not a lot of time to enjoy each other. And so I think about stuff like that all the time, like keeping my son on a schedule, on like a schedule, while also spending time with my wife. It's just, that's why I rather just stay home, because then I can cut out the commute of trying to figure out where to go, and build my house up to where we can have a lot of things to do here. And on the weekends, maybe we can go out and find activities, but Ebony does the planning for that.
Yeah, I'm normally looking for what's happening in the area, or we invite friends over for like dinners, definitely friends who have kids. So Kezi can play, with his friends while we entertain with like our friends. We do make an effort to like turn off the TV like towards the end of the night whenever it's time for Kezi to start winding down, so that we can like actually, engage as far as like reading a book to him or different things like that. And then like trying to find little moments whenever Okezi's napping, like once he goes to sleep, and just be like, okay, let's just watch a movie and like get some snacks and just sit back together and have some time together. So whenever there's like just a lot going on, you just try to find like those small moments you can to just spend time with each other.
Yeah, and me and some of my friends, we talk about it all the time, how, time is something that you can't get back. So, you definitely got to be using it wisely, and, spending that quality time with, family, and, just like Pino was saying, creating moments, and just all of that. But yeah, I definitely, that's something I definitely did notice about y'all, just the quality time and all of that. And just like Pino, I'm a homebody myself. I and that's kind of how I've always been too. The family, we usually just kind of, we didn't really go out much, so we just spent time at home. And my brothers are always there, my sister, my parents, and so we enjoy spending time with one another. And even when we go out, something I've always kind of prided my family on is our ability to have fun, even if we're doing something as simple as just driving in the car.
Yeah.
You know how my dad is. He's crazy, so there's always something going on with that. My
Yeah.
brothers, sometimes my dad will put an old school like hip hop song on and start rapping, singing LL Cool J and all of that. So it is always a good time. So I'm like Pino in that sense. But
I feel like
yeah,
it's about finding people like really that you can like you said, like small moments, right? That you can enjoy each other's company by doing like the smallest things, whether it's running like to the grocery store together, like just finding people that it doesn't have to be an elaborate thing, right?
Mhm. Yeah, I agree with that. Something I wanted to tell Pino, or whenever he comes back, but I guess, oh, there he is.
Yeah.
What's up? So, talking about how we've, been able to hang out a lot more over the past few months, something that me and you did a while ago, Pino, was go to a concert. And, the drive there and on the way back, we were talking, and, you were giving me advice, and, just looking out for me, asking how I was doing, and just trying to seek to help in any way that you can. And, that's another thing I notice about y'all, is that y'all are always willing to give advice and help out us, anybody you can, but specifically just the younger cousins, people that, y'all, like I was saying earlier, you've already been here, done that, and I'm in the process of trying to go somewhere and trying to do that. So just, y'all giving advice, I'm curious, I guess, how important is it to y'all to, I guess, share advice and share wisdom and, share the game with with younger cousins and family or anybody that you encounter?
Yeah.
It's funny that he says he's trying to be there, done that. Do you know how much you have done, sir, in your
I think, I'm very proud of where you're at and what you've done from what I've learned about you. I'm proud of all my cousins. The biggest thing is we took advice from our aunties and our uncles. All of our aunts and uncles, they've been there and done that, and we still take advice from them today as adults when it comes to parenting, when it comes to, buying a home, when it comes to looking at certain things to either grow ourselves personally, spiritually, or financially. We take advice still. It's just recognizing where you're trying to be. Like when I told you about how we create these goals, and then you have to look at who's done this in the family, because that's a free resource. And so when I give you, when I give you or any of my cousins advice, it's not because I just like to hear myself talk, right? It's because I want to see you get there quicker than it took me to get there. And I think one of the things I remember on the drive, I was telling you about how long it took me to get to like different milestones. And
Yeah, I
I
remember that.
and I was saying to myself, how easy it would be if you came and said, this is what I want to do. And if I don't know the answer, I can point you to someone else in the family that knows it, that will help you get there and cut out the years or the time that it takes, because we can give you the knowledge of just getting to there. Because the goal is not for me to be, the wealthiest person in the family or have whatever the abundance is, right? The goal is for the family in general to progress as quickly as possible, so that the generations coming afterwards will have it easier, than our ancestors who couldn't even do certain things because of restrictions or, conditions that they were in. And so they fought to get us here. But we don't remember that sometimes, and we don't think about the generation that's coming afterwards, because we're focused on our individual wants. And so we also have to start thinking ahead and saying, what can we do now so that our descendants, 100 years from now, they don't have to have this type of struggle, or they don't have to have this type of challenges, that we can overcome these. So they'll face with new challenges. So that's the goal. It all circles back to just progressing the next generation, so that they're spending less time dealing with the challenges, and they're rapidly advancing. And then you guys can figure out the next challenge to pass on to the generation once you come across it.
That's right. I think that's definitely what it's about, because for us personally, it's not us competing with anyone. Like, we want to see the family, the culture, everything progress. That's our biggest thing, is how do we, our family mission is all around community, and how do we help the future generations and our community progress forward? How do we keep the culture strong? How do we just knowing the adversities that us as, a Black community have faced, how do we help to kind of get past those or get over those humps, so that we can really start building the way that we should be building. And we recognize that, the biggest challenge is division, and like everyone kind of being in an individualistic mindset of like, I'm going after mine and I'm not really worried about how successful everyone else is. And I think for us, we see that, there's no, like, I can't be happy being the one successful person in my family while I see everyone else in my family struggle or not, be able to progress. Like, I'm not going to be the one mentioned sitting around poverty. Like, that's just not how our mindsets work, is that, I'll have a mention while everyone else has a little, like they're all homeless or they're all like struggling. I'm not that person. He's not that person. So for us, we see giving advice as like the biggest contribution we can make, because maybe we don't have all the money in the world to be able to invest in everything that everyone wants to do. We definitely understand there's some people who will take the advice and some people who won't. And we're always in the mindset of, you can't take, like we always have a saying, like, don't come for my money if you're not willing to take my advice, because there's a lot of people who will come to you with their hands out looking for money or things like that. But not a lot of people want to take advice or want to really learn how to, fish for themselves or really make a impactful progression in their lives. And so for us, it's all around like really just trying to give whatever knowledge we have, because we've both been through like a lot throughout our like lives of just trying to get to the point that we're at. And we both recognize that we probably could have been a lot further if we had a big support network and a lot of people really advising us who were doing other things. And so like just making sure that we pay that forward and just know that, okay, we probably could have got here quicker, but we're going to do everything we can to really try to help whoever's willing to listen, like know what we know so that they can do it, do more. So
yeah, I just want to say, I don't think it's about getting here quicker. I think it's about the mind frame of being able to absorb the advice and actually apply the advice, because we've been getting advice our entire life from people who been in the family, from community members, right? But there was a point in my life where I was too young to understand why it was important to do those things that they were advising me on. And I was arrogant to think that I can figure it out myself and do it my way, because their way required me to make sacrifice that I wasn't willing to do. Like I wasn't willing to give up certain things to follow that path. But the older I got, the more I started being able to understand. Then I started like applying the advice that I was getting. So that's the difference. Like when you become older, I think they said knowledge is what you, or knowledge is what you remember after you learn, right? So you can learn a lot of things and you can do a lot of things, but wisdom is having the knowledge to apply what you learn. And so we wasn't applying any of those advice until we got older, and then we started saying, okay, let me do this way because this person done it. And that's what we're trying to pass off to our younger cousins, or even just people who they're not necessarily younger, but they're not knowledgeable of what we're knowledgeable of. We share our knowledge. And then people who are knowledgeable in things that we're not knowledgeable in, we go to them for that advice so that we can learn from them,
I think it's interesting because even with some of the different ventures that we're going into, I find that a lot of people, when they ask you something and you actually give them advice or actually like share what you've learned, a lot of people seem surprised. And I'm guessing it's because there's so many people out there who aren't willing to share like how they get, like to really share like the tea as far as like, this is how I got here, or this is how I'm seeing success, or here's what you do. And so I do find that just from like the different things that I do, when people reach out, whether that be through Instagram or just someone having a conversation and say, oh, you did this, like, how did that work? Or, how can I get into this or whatever? When I'm actively like telling them I feel a lot of people get kind of like thrown aback because they're not used to people being so open with sharing knowledge around things. Some people kind of want you to show and prove, like, oh, how serious are you? You have to go through hoops or whatever to get the information out of them. And I'm just like kind of an open like book as far as like, no, I feel like there's enough space. So let's share. And like, there's things that you know that I probably could learn from, and I'm always willing to share the things that I know. Because I don't really think that like about hiding, you know, my successes or hiding like how I get from point A to point B. That's just not my nature. So.
Yeah, I actually, what y'all just said, I think that's a testament to who y'all are. I actually did an episode. It was at the time of recording this, it hasn't come out yet, but I did an episode with Josh, and the episode was called Winning at Life. And I asked him what he thinks winning at life means. And exactly what y'all were saying, you know, with just sharing that advice, sharing that knowledge that y'all have learned, and sharing it with, you know, family or anybody else who would need it. You know, it's a reminder that it's not just about us. And so when I asked Josh, what does winning at life mean to him? The first thing he said was instantly just talking about how winning at life is not just about him, but it's about helping those who are around him win as well. And it's not like you were saying, Ebony, it's not, how do I say it? I guess it's not ideal for you to be elevated in a higher position and you're not willing to help out, or I guess share or give advice or wisdom to, you know, family who may not be in that same position, or others who may need a helping hand. So I think that's a testament to y'all and what y'all have done. And to your point, Pino, that actually reminds me of that car ride to the concert and back, you know, and us talking and everything. One thing that you said to me, you were saying like, you know, all of the advice and the wisdom you've gotten from family and from, you know, people that have been there, done that in your life. You were saying, you know, your number one goal is to be the best husband and be the best father that you can be. And, you know, you were saying that as you've grown and as you've gotten older, as you've gone through life a lot more, you know, you've kind of figured out and found yourself more. So I'm curious, that purpose, that goal that you have now of being the best husband and father you can be, is that something that happened, you know, when you became a husband and when you became a father, or is it something that you kind of had in your mind before it happened, if that makes sense?
Yeah, it makes sense. I think it was a goal that I had before, right? And because I kind of knew a long time ago from the environment that I grew up in, it became clear what was important to me. And so in my mind, I wanted to be, this is the thing, and I don't say this with any slight or anything, but take, for example, if you come from a single parent household, then your goal would be to not merit that, right? You would want to, in your family, you would want to maintain a good family structure so your kids come from a, you know, what was a two-parent household, right? So it's about breaking the norm or the stigma or whatever it is. And so my goal was always to change the dynamics of the environment that I grew up in. So that meant for me spending more time with my family. That's why time is important. That meant for me making sure that we have a family structure that consists of two parent household, two incomes, two parenting style. So that's why it was important to me before I had my family, before I got married, before all of this. And then I looked for examples in the family that I saw that that I said, okay, this is what works, and this is what I want to imitate. I saw my aunts and uncle, and I looked at how they ran their households and said, okay, I can learn this from them. I can learn this from this group, but it's important to take everything that I have and then take everything that I don't want and understand that and then apply it to what I need when I have a wife and a family. So that's where I'm at now.
Yeah, that's what's up. And, I can definitely see that you're well. I wouldn't even say you're well on your way. You're already doing that. You're already living that out. And so that's dope, man. And both of y'all are, both of y'all are an inspiration. But before we wrap up, you already know got to talk about the young man, got to talk about the young Pecan. Y'all may have seen him. If you are watching, y'all may have seen him pass by the screen. If you're listening, you may have heard him. Our man Okezi. So y'all have been, like you were saying, y'all met in like 07, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so it's been a long process, and I know that it was a process. Ebony, I know you were in school for a while and you had all of that going, and then with all of the traveling and things like that. So it was a long process, definitely worth it. And now y'all have Okezi in your lives. So how has Okezi kind of come in your lives and impacted it? How has it impacted y'all individually and impacted y'all as a couple?
Ooh. Having a kid turns everything inside and out. It really tests your like relationship, your bond, like your values, all those things are tested when you have a child. Which is why I feel that, I don't even know how to explain it. We had like, once we got married, I feel like, that was a big pivotal thing because we had dated for like almost like 10 years or something before we even got married. And like you think that, once you've been dating that long, getting married won't be that big of a difference, but it definitely is, because it's like at that point, once you get married, you realize like, no, we're actually building a future together. We're like in this commitment that is, past. Like we're not living our individual lives where we just so happen to like be together. We're living like one life at this point, and all the choices we make are going to affect each other long term. And so how do we start planning for our future together? And so I feel like definitely getting married changed the dynamic. But then once you have a child, that's a whole nother like level of like coming together, because now it's not just like, okay, how do we build our future together? But now you have a person who shares both of your genes, who are looking to both of you to kind of guide them. And so I feel like at that point, like you go from contractual family to now like you're actually family. Like you have like a blood bond at that point within like a child who is like tying you together on both sides. And I feel like the way my family interacted with him, like after Okezi, probably like changed a lot as well, because it goes from like, oh, you're like just the boyfriend, or you're now just the husband, to like, oh no, now like you are our family. Like this is like a child that you brought, this bringing both sides of the families together. So I definitely feel that there's like a level of commitment and a family that, that child like Okezi's for us created. But then also like how we interact with each other, I think changed a lot, because whenever it's just the two of you, sly comments or like little things you might do, you don't think much about it because you're the only two people who are around to observe it. But when you have someone else who's like looking to you on how to love, how to interact with each other, and that what you do is going to affect them greatly, and how they might see future relationships, how they might look for a wife, or like how they might, treat a woman or whatever, or like whole relationships. Like when you realize the impact that like the parents have on how their children interact with the world, I think it makes you take a look at your relationship at another level, to think to yourself, like, how are we speaking to each other? how are we engaging with each other? Like how, like something as simple as when was the last time our son saw us hug or kiss or like just laugh with each other? Like those type of things are important. And I think it just makes you take notice of it more when you know that there's like someone else who's like in observation of that and looking at those interactions as like their kind of baseline of how they will hold relationships in the future, if that makes sense.
Yeah. What about you, Pino?
So, a lot of what she said, and also it goes for me is balance. Everything's about balance. So work-life balance, family balance. We talk about, well, she talked about how everything we do around home, we have to take in consideration of what we eat so that he's learning how to, he's learning proper nutrition, what we watch on TV, because everything he learns, he imitates. So we changed our entire, viewing of television, the amount of time we spend watching TV, things like that. The words we use around him to reinforce positive, behavior and things. I'm more of a, explanation type disciplinarian. I don't go into straight just, when he does something to, time out or whatever the case is. I go into, I usually get on it. I take one knee and then I want to know why. And then I ask some questions.
Yeah.
And sometimes, I realize there is a certain type of way you can communicate with your family and with your child. He's 2 years old. He's only been on the planet for 2 years. He's not going to understand everything that I understand. But my goal is to help him learn those things. And so I have to always check that and always have to, figure out how much does he understand something before I can go into trying to like teach him how to understand certain things, right? Like even the words I use with him to communicate with him at his level, then I would say as an individual that's changed me because I felt like I've been patient, but now I'm extremely patient. I think that I also look to balance her out. So if she's busy with whatever she's busy doing, there's no role specific, there's no gender specific role in our house. There are times where I need to step up and fix dinner and I need to give him a bath and do all those things. And there are times where she needs to do it. And I think that having him has made it where we've gotten rid of certain traits and he can come to both of us for certain things. And then we have a saying now, where we say, am I what is it? Am I a conductive or a member of this household? So if she wakes up or if I see something, I'm not gonna wait for her to do it. If the dishes are dirty, I can't be like, well, I went to work, so she has to wash the dishes. If I see the dishes are dirty, I'm gonna do it. It all depends on our level of energy that we have. If I know that she's tired, she's sick right now, I can't leave everything to her. I have to step up if I'm feeling better. So it's about being a positive contributing member of your household and then teaching him how to be a positive contributing member of your household. Let him teach them that it's okay to pick up after yourself. But if you need help, it's okay to ask for help, And so just those type of things. And
on a funny note, you can't be mad at each other as long as you might have used to be mad at each other. There's been time, like, there's whenever you're in the dating phase or it's just you guys, you can get mad and maybe ignore each other for like an extended period of time. When there's a kid and both of you guys are responsible for the kid, it's like, I'm mad at you, but we're gonna have to work this out because we don't got time to be angry at each other or not talking to each other because there's somebody who we have to work and like get in order. And so I feel like we've like just from having Okezie, it's made us have to like work out things a lot quicker and like to go ahead and come, like we don't have time to sit around and be sitting on whatever, like, okay, let's sit down, let's work it out, what's happening. let's communicate. Okay, now let's get back on like raising this child.
And if we're mad at each other, he knows, he'll bring us together. He'll do that. He'll
Yeah.
grab me and grab her, and he'll sit on her lap, or disengaged, and they're watching TV. He'll just go and grab me from wherever I am, bring me to the couch, and sit me down like. And then now I'm like, well, I can't be mad at you because we can't show that energy around him so that he picks it up, you know.
Yeah, and I think sometimes we forget how smart kids actually are. So that's definitely an example of how he's aware of that fact and how he brings y'all together. And I think that shows that a lot of times we learn more about ourselves from our like y'all would know more than me because I don't have a kid, but I think that shows the fact that a lot of people say my child taught me more than I taught them, and I think that is kind of a way of that, because I think that's true, because when you are in that position where you have somebody that literally depends on you for at least in that stage of their life for almost everything, it kind of teaches you. I say I don't have kids, but my brothers, for example, I learned so much from my brothers because they kind of forced me to learn how to be a big brother. Because before they were born, I wasn't a big brother, so I knew nothing about that. So once they were born, I had to learn how to be a big brother. I had to learn how to, give them advice. I had to learn them. Michael's, not talk. Michael's more laid back. Michael's a very like logical person. So I have to, when I'm telling him something, kind of like what you were saying, Pino, that why, I can't just get mad at him. I have to let him know why, because Michael's a logical person. He thinks. Daniel's a little more sensitive. So you got to be, a little sympathetic. But Nathaniel's the rough one. So we just tell him how it is. But yeah, just just being able to learn them, it's taught me a lot. And so I guess for y'all, would y'all say that Okezie has taught y'all like a ton while he's been here in his 2 years on Earth?
He has. He's mostly around patience, because Okezie is very high energy, very spirited, and I know he's going to test me a lot throughout the years in a good way. But me definitely has taught me around like patience and just realizing that you definitely can't control a lot when it comes to like life in general. I feel like that's probably the biggest lesson I'm going to get out of like having Okezie. It's just the fact that, I thought that, I could control a lot of factors in my life. I thought I could create the schedules, the to-do list, do the research and execute. And I was all about, steps. That's how I kind of function, is through steps of progression and to-do list. And so like, yeah, having Okezie has taught me there's a lot that you can't control. Like right now, I've been sick all week. Like that wasn't in my plans to like wake up, and I had a list of things I was going to accomplish this week. And this is what my week looked like. This is what my schedule is going to be. And, having a kid, just throw it out the window. You don't know what's going to happen week to week. And so learning just to be patient, learning to go with the flow and be more flexible, and just that I don't have control over my day to day. I only can control kind of how I like go about those like different challenges. And I think that's probably one of my biggest lessons right now.
Yeah, I would say that because he's taught me better time management, trying to keep him consistent with his daily routines. And then finding time in between that to spend time with him and to have family activities. So it's all about like time management and deprioritizing things that aren't as important or things that I can do on my own.
Yeah.
And that's all about just quality time, like you said.
Yeah. And I know Ebony's not in the room at the moment, but I'm gonna leave y'all. This is the last question I'm gonna ask y'all. I'm gonna leave y'all on this question. It may be a messy question. It
Uh-oh.
may be messy, but y'all can blame me. All right. So if I put you and Ebony on opposite sides of a room and I bring a Kezi in, who is he running to?
I'll be honest, it just depends on how he feels that day, right?
Yeah.
If Okezi wants, if he's hungry, if he's feeling a little sick, he goes to any of us. So it really is random because we don't play a role, we don't have a gender specific role where we're like,
Yeah.
you're the one who does this, I'm the one who does that. But I would say this, I play with him probably more. So if he walks into a room and we're in an environment where there's toys around and there's things to play with, then he'll come to me because I'm more of a play, I play with him more. But if it's more of a serious setting where he knows he has to like sit still and he might have to be on his best behavior, then he might go to his mother because she's more of like, an organizer, like everything is in place. So your mannerism, everything has to be in place. So he might go to her to show her that he's like doing that.
Yeah.
So the question was, if Okezi came into a room, we're on opposite ends of that room, who is he gonna go to first?
Oh, I have no clue. It depends on his personality during that day. Because I don't know. I don't think there would be, I could say, because depending on his mood and how he feels about us in any given day, he might go to either one. Like Pino said, he's very playful. So if he's looking to play, he might go to Pino, but I'm probably more considered the nurturer and the one who, like, even though we don't have gender roles, there's obviously a person in this room who cooks better than the other one. So yeah, I'm just saying. So if he's hungry or he needs like just like love or anything, he'll probably come to me. But if he's looking for playtime, he'll probably go to Pino.
Okay.
Yeah.
What I think he would do, I think he would run in and go grab both of y'all and bring y'all both to the middle and y'all have like a group hug.
that he's actually done that a lot. He really likes, definitely when we're walking or anything, like if he's in between both of us and we're just holding his hands, like he's all about like both of us, even at nighttime, because he still is like getting in the bed with us. He'll if there's just one of us sleeping in there, he's asking for the other one because he wants both of us at all times. So it's definitely like, I think he's about both. Maybe that's why I can't think of who he'd go to, because it's just for us, for him, I feel like he wants both of us at all times. So.
And that's why it's important to have a 2-parent household if possible, because those things do affect the confidence that you have growing up as a child. It alleviates like certain burdens like finances, just work and everything else when you have that balance, because he has 2 people to rely on versus one, and it makes it the other person don't carry the full weight, and
I have a lot of respect for people who do it solo because it's
think,
tiring and there's 2 of us.
I think that's what made me appreciate like single parents, because man, if I had to do this as a single parent, it would be the most challenging thing, and then parents, people with multiple kids that are single parents, I've gained so much more respect for them. Even like some of the charity, like every year we try to pick charity, like an organization to donate to. We think about stuff like, organizations that help out single mothers and things like that, or just any way, because And when you learn something in life and you can apply it and you understand it, it changes your dynamic. You can never be the same person, you know. And so the appreciation we have for like our parents being single parents, and even though we had help from family members, we still come with we're still like, can you believe our parents trying to do this by themselves?
Mm-hmm.
You know, so it's just a importance there. But man, this interview was eye opening. It was awakening. Man, I'm proud of you. I can't say that enough. Just starting your own platform. I know it's gonna go somewhere, and if not, we'll pray on it. Keep doing what you're doing. Keep coming to us anytime you need anything. But now that you're in the position to give us advice, feel free to do that. Man, lead by example. You know, you got your younger brothers, you got your younger cousins, you got your cousins around your age, your peers. Lead by example. Just keep this dialogue going so that we can have this future to look back on. So when next year or a year or two, you're at another platform, you're at a higher level. I remember when we were the first virtual podcast that was on on your show, and so it's a good thing, man. It's a blessing. Hey man, I can't say that enough, man. I love you, fam.
Yeah, I appreciate y'all. I speak on behalf of, all of the family and everybody that y'all encountered. Thank y'all for always being there. Thank y'all for constant words of wisdom. Thank y'all for the advice. Thank y'all for, just the care that y'all have. And, y'all are like really the backbone of this whole thing. I just hearing y'all and the support that y'all have given me and everybody else has given me, that's really what has helped propel me to do this, and gives me the motivation to keep on doing it. So again, thank y'all for being on here. Thank y'all for I like to say this, thank y'all for gracing this platform with your presence, with your voices. I know that somebody's going to hear this and it's going to help them, and that's the whole goal, just affirming the fact that you are the story. And so again, thank y'all for being here. If you're listening, thank you for tuning in. All of the information as far as social media, the streaming platforms to listen on, we're on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts. Make sure to tune in on there. It's the letter U, the letter R, then space and story. And then we're on YouTube as well at the same name, the letter U, the letter R, space story. Make sure to subscribe, leave a rating, preferably 5 stars. That'll help out. But whatever you want to do, go ahead and do it. And make sure to follow on Instagram as well. That's the letter U, the letter R, story, and then podcasts on Instagram. So tune in. Once again, Pino and Ebony, thank y'all for being on here. And I definitely want to bring y'all back on in the future. So I know we'll do that. So we'll stay locked in and we'll stay connected. So to y'all, thank y'all for being here. Thank y'all for listening. And I'll see y'all next time. Peace.